Jane, always had a feeling that my mother-in-law, Dora, didn't like me. She has always been very rude towards me. When I was dating my now husband, Vincent, for the longest time, I tried my best to be in her good books. Vincent was close to his mom, and I wanted us to have a good relationship. However, I soon realized that Dora had no intention of sharing her son with anyone. Dora's behavior has always baffled me. I had no idea why she was so cold to me. That was until Vincent explained what her problem was. "I'm sorry my mom is so mean to you. I know you must be wondering what you did wrong, but the thing is, you didn't do anything." "Then why is she so critical of me? I tried so hard to win her. Your dad is such a good sport, but Dora is hell-bent on getting me." "I know you tried your best, Jane. The thing is, Mom is very possessive of me. She has always been this way. Dad travels a lot for his work and stays out of state most of the time now, so Mom has relied on me a lot for companionship. So that's why she is so attached to you. Why didn't she talk with Leo about the problem?" "Dad did try to talk her into moving near to his work. She didn't want to leave this city. I guess she thought I was enough for her. After a while, she didn't need Dad anymore. If Leo was neglectful, why didn't she divorce him?" "Dad wasn't neglectful, Jane. He did his best to be with us. Mom always wanted more. She is financially dependent on him and doesn't want to go back to work, so she stayed." After my talk with Vincent, I had a clearer picture of the situation. I was starting to get wary of Dora. I did sympathize with her for being lonely, but I could see she did nothing to help herself. She simply depended on Vincent to fulfill her emotional needs. I still tried to establish a relationship with Dora. However, she was convinced I was a temporary person in Vincent's life. Everything changed when Vincent proposed to me. Dora was beside herself. She couldn't accept the fact that Vincent was getting married. She became even more vile towards me. She said, "You cannot marry her, Vincent. She is not right for you. I am sure she is with you for money. I know her type very well. I bet she is using you and fooling around with someone else." "Mom, why would you say something like that?" "With her, you just marry her. Prove it to you." I was baffled by Dora's behavior. She was starting to annoy the hell out of me. I also didn't appreciate the accusations she was throwing at me. Vincent apologized for Dora's behavior, but I knew he wasn't responsible for her reaction. However, Dora's words really stuck with me, and I kept feeling humiliated. Leo was super happy for us and had a way better reaction than Dora. Vincent just told me to give Dora some time. A month after we got engaged, Dora showed up at our house with a smug expression on her face. I was pretty confused about what she was doing here. Vincent was home and came down to see what the deal was. Dora sat us down and said, "Vincent, remember when I said Jane is using you? Today, I have brought you proof she has been fooling around with multiple men. Here, take a look at these chats." "Mom, you have to be joking right now. Where did you even find these chats? Are you kidding me right now? These are not even real chats." "Vincent, here, take my phone and check it. You already know my password and everything. I have nothing to hide." "I know you didn't cheat, Jane." "Mom, why are you doing this? I can see the chats are fake. Hell, I can even see a watermark on the app at the bottom. You think I am faking these chats? How blind can you be, Vincent? She wants you all to herself so that she can enjoy your money. Mom, so far, we both have been very patient with you. I can't believe I asked Jane to put up with your behavior and give you time. You're embarrassing me and insulting my fiancé. You need to apologize to her. There is no wedge. I'm telling you the truth. You will believe me someday. When you do, I'll be here for you. For now, I will tell everyone how much of a cheater your new fiancé is." Dora said that and left. We were both dumbfounded by the whole situation. She was starting to cross her limits, and it was time to lay some boundaries. Before I could talk to Vincent, he was the one who said, "I am so sorry, Jane. I had no idea my mom would be so cruel to you. I really thought she would come around once she saw how happy I was. I didn't mean to have you get hurt. It's not your fault, Vincent. Thank you for believing in me so easily. But Dora has crossed all limits today. We need to go low contact with her. I am fine with her being rude, but she's out to taint my image." "You are right, Jane. We do need to go low contact with Dora. I guess this is the best option right now. I will go talk to her tomorrow." We agreed to keep everything a secret from Leo. He was a man of ethics and would not have taken Dora's behavior lightly. None of us wanted to inform him about the situation. There was no need to cause unnecessary stress. Dora was in some sort of crisis, and we thought we could handle her tantrums. We would later realize how wrong we were. After Vincent told Dora about the low contact, she did throw a major tantrum. Thankfully, I was not around to witness it. Seeing her major tantrum, Vincent doubled down and threatened to uninvite her from the wedding. That shut her up real quick. He came home and was pretty mad at Dora. However, he knew he couldn't cut her off completely. She was still his mother. Vincent's threats did help us have an uneventful wedding. I actually expected Dora to show up in a wedding dress. However, she never did anything even remotely problematic. I realized that Leo's presence and judgment kept her from trying to spoil our wedding. However, she started to cause trouble as soon as Leo went back to work. Dora would constantly show up at our house unannounced and try to spend time with us. She was hell-bent on breaking our low-contact request. Vincent did try to keep her at bay, but her waterworks really made him feel guilty. Some of Dora's family members were bashing us for abandoning Dora, so Vincent was starting to waver in his decision to stay in low contact. However, he was quick to defend me if required. Life went on painfully slow with Dora's constant presence in our lives. However, things looked up for me and Vincent when I found out I was pregnant. It was an amazing day filled with great memories. However, for some reason, we both dreaded telling Dora. We were right about being worried. Dora went nuts at our announcement. She said, "You witch, you baby-trapped my son. You know he will never get out of your clutches again, Jane. You are wrong. I know this child can't be his. You haven't even been married for a year. That makes no sense, Dora. People can get pregnant within a year of getting married. It doesn't mean I cheated on him. Besides, why do you keep accusing me of cheating?" "Because you are a worthless girl. You don't work and married my son for money. Do you think he will cut me off for you? That will never happen. Vincent, you need to do something right now. I know this is not your baby." "Mom, why the hell would you say that again? We already talked about this. How can you be so blind?" "Vincent, she is clearly a big gold digger. You just don't want to accept it." I was starting to get pretty upset, so Vincent decided to kick her out. She didn't stop there, though. Dora actually told everyone in our extended family that I cheated and she had proof. We did face a lot of backlash from them as well. The situation was so tense that I was getting sick from the stress. So Vincent dealt with the situation while I got to rest. Dora was awfully quiet during the pregnancy. She refused to acknowledge me and my child. She even returned our baby shower invite. I couldn't believe the audacity of this woman. However, I was happy to be free from her intruding presence and cruel remarks. But as luck would have it, she showed up at the hospital right after our son was born. Vincent was hopeful that she had come to her senses, so he introduced our son to her. He said, "Hey, Mom, meet your grandson. Isn't he cute?" "Oh my God, he looks like a monkey. He can't be my grandson. I knew you would cheat on my son. Jane, you are a good-for-nothing gold digger. I demand you take a DNA test." "Mom, what are you saying? This is ridiculous. This is my child, your own blood. Why are you being so mean to Jane?" "Dear, look at him. He can't be yours. I told you our family has the most beautiful children. This cannot be yours at all. You need to divorce her." "What is wrong with you, Dora? This is your grandson. Why the hell do you need a DNA test to confirm that? Your child looks nothing like me, oh my son. If you're so sure of its paternity, why don't you take a DNA test?" "Fine. If this is what you want, I will take one. But don't blame me when you have to face consequences for your behavior today. You should be more worried about what my son will do once he finds out the child is not his. Anyway, I will be off preparing the divorce papers so that it becomes easier for him. It's my duty as his mother to be prepared on his behalf." She said that and just left. I was exhausted from giving birth and was having a hard time digesting her words. I simply broke down and cried. Vincent rushed to me and tried to comfort me. He said, "Jane, please don't cry. I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. I know he is mine. You love me and won't do this to me. I trust you. We don't have to take the DNA test." "No, Vincent, I will take the DNA test. All these years, Dora has accused me of a lot of things. Half of your family thinks I am an evil witch. This time, I will give her my reply. I want revenge. She insulted our child. I will destroy her life. Are you sure about this, Jane? Look, I don't want Mom around us anymore. We can just cut her off. There's no need for a DNA test or anything else. She doesn't deserve to have a relationship with us. No, Vincent, I will not leave her the opportunity to twist the narrative. Her true nature needs to be shown to everyone. Plus, I need to prove myself to the people who doubted me." "Fine. If that's what you want, we will do it. Mom needs to be punished for trying to break us up after what she said about our baby. She doesn't deserve a relationship with him either, so we both agreed to go through with the DNA test." After Dora left to draw up my divorce papers, Leo came to visit me. He flew back to our city when he heard I was in labor. Leo was absolutely in awe of our child. That's when I took the opportunity to tell him about Dora. He was completely unaware that his wife was up to no good. I said, "Leo, there is something that has been bothering me. I don't know if I can talk to you about this." "What's wrong, Jane? You can tell me anything." "Dora has asked for a DNA test. She thinks the baby is not Vincent's child." "What? Why on earth would she say that?" "She has been pretty vile about me and the child. I can't believe this, but she has called our son a monkey. She is adamant our son is not her grandchild." "What the hell, Jane? That is not acceptable at all. What has even gotten into her? Where is she right now anyway?" "She has gone to talk to her lawyer. She said she will prepare divorce papers for me and Vincent." "This is outrageous. I am genuinely confused about what happened to her so suddenly." That's when I told him everything Dora had done to me, from trying to poison me to faking messages and acting like my lover. Leo heard everything and was absolutely furious. He couldn't believe that his wife could be so evil. Leo said, "Why didn't you guys tell me this before? It never should have gotten this far." My God, I never knew Dora was capable of these things. We genuinely thought she would change. I believe in giving people second chances. I never knew she would turn out to be a lost cause. Vincent now wants to go no contact with her. To be honest, I have been thinking about this as well. Jane, don't worry. I support your decision entirely. I believe in your character too, but this entire thing has opened my eyes about Dora. I don't think I can be with her anymore. She has gone to draw up your divorce. Well, she is in for a surprise. We ended our conversation there. Leo spent a long while cooing over his grandchild. I was happy to know that at least one of his grandparents loved him all the same. I wanted to cry, thinking about the name Dora called my child. Even Vincent was upset and didn't really feel like himself for the rest of the day. Our day was completely ruined, but I knew Dora would pay for her actions. We went home with our baby just 2 days after he was born. However, the joy of having a child was clouded by the anxiety of dealing with Dora. She had told everyone that I cheated on Vincent and had someone else's child. Everyone listened to her and didn't even show up to see the baby. Vincent was heartbroken and pretty pissed as well. We did send samples for the DNA test and showed the receipt to Dora. She called me and said, "This weekend, everyone will be invited. They need to see how much of a trash you are. Be prepared to be humiliated and divorced. I'm sure my son will leave you when he finds out." You are seriously going to this extent to humiliate me and my child? I can't believe this. You're a vile person, Dora. Oh, don't you worry, Jane. I will make sure everyone shuns you and kicks you out of the family. Then I will have Vincent all to myself. We will see, Dora. We will be there at the party. Let's see who gets the last laugh. Dora ignored me and cut the call. She was pretty excited to have me thrown out of the family. However, she was in for a surprise. We just had to wait till the results got back. Vincent was pretty supportive of me, but I knew he was sad Dora was being such a bad person. The day of the party arrived pretty soon, and so did the DNA results. Dora had actually booked an expensive venue and planned elaborately to celebrate my humiliation. Everyone who saw me stayed away. No one even asked about the baby. I left my son with my sister at home, ahead of feeling things wouldn't go down well if I wanted to keep him safe. The party started, and even Leo was there. He kept quiet about the allegations and was waiting for me to do my thing. When the last person finally arrived, Dora said, "Thank you for coming. I organized this party to show how much of a gold digger Jane was. I always knew she was with my son for his money. Then she managed to baby trap him with someone else's child. That is not true at all. Why are you so adamant that I cheated on Vincent? I know all about your extramarital affairs, Jane. It's a shame Vincent refused to believe the proof I sent. That's because he knew I never cheated. Your accusations are baseless." "Oh, we will see about that. Vincent might be blinded by you, but he won't be after today. I have prepared the divorce papers for him. Show us the DNA results, and we will see what he does. Prepare to be divorced, woman. Let's see what the results are, shall we?" With that, I showed everyone the DNA results. They were shocked to see that my son was 100% Vincent's boy. Everyone started to loudly express their frustration at Dora. Dora simply looked disbelieving at the results. She said, No, that's not possible. You, I am sure of it, who the real father is. Cut it out, Mom. I am the real father of the baby. I got the DNA test myself and submitted the samples. Hell, I even chose the clinics so that you don't accuse Jane of bribing them. You have crossed a line this time. There must be something wrong, Vincent. You have to believe me. No, I am done with you, Mom. Since I married Jane, you have done all sorts of things to taunt her. Because of you, no one even showed up to see our baby. Everyone thinks she is a bad person. This is all because of you. I don't want a relationship with you anymore. You will never see my son after today. Vincent, don't leave. Please, you have to believe me. This witch is poisoning you against me. That's enough, Dora. I see that you have gone to great lengths to spoil Jane's reputation. You took advantage of the situation while I was gone. I never punished you for your evil schemes. I won't put up with it anymore. I am divorcing you. Here are the papers. I had them prepared while you were busy making divorce papers for Vincent and Jane. No, no, no. You can't divorce me. This is not happening. Leo, don't do this. And I want you out of my house as soon as possible. Remember that you signed a prenup and won't get anything from me. You are on your own from now on. Leo, I have nothing. Please listen to me. Dora tried to talk to Leo while everyone jumped in to berate her. They also tried to talk to us and apologize. We simply turned around and left. Everyone was quick to abandon us when Dora accused me of cheating. We needed time to decide if we wanted them back in our life. We told them just that. It just made everyone even more mad at Dora. After the party, things took a 180-degree turn for everyone. Dora was being disowned by everyone around her. Even her friends didn't want to associate with her. Family members reached out to us and apologized for their behavior. They begged us not to cut off access to our child. They also said that they had cut off Dora for good. We asked them for time because we were pretty exhausted by Dora's antics. Leo also promptly kicked Dora out and cut off access to their money. He also instructed their family lawyer to not communicate with Dora or help her out. Dora came to our house, begging Vincent to forgive her. She also cried about how she was about to be homeless and penniless. Leo was hell-bent on divorcing her. Vincent wanted nothing to do with her as well. He was deeply saddened by what Dora had done to me and our child. We took a break from everything and decided to focus on our new family. Leo visited frequently and was a star grandpa. The baby is doing well, and I am recovering fast as well. Vincent is still sad about his mom, but refuses to forgive her ever. We were able to delete her toxic presence from our lives and are much happier now.
I laid in bed, restless, my mind racing with the conversation from earlier that evening. Aaron's words echoed in my head. "Your family, Beth. Just let us build on Grandpa's land. We deserve it too." How could he say that? That land was sacred, meant for Grandpa's dream project, a community center where he could share his passion for woodworking with the neighborhood kids. It was his dying wish, and I intended to honor it. Aaron always had a way of making me feel guilty, like I owed him something. But this time it felt different, like he was taking advantage of our familial bond for his own selfish gain. I tossed and turned, replaying the scenario. What? That land was meant for Grandpa's dream project. I had protested, my voice trembling with disbelief. Aaron's words cut deep. "Come on, sis. We're not asking for much, just a small piece of that vast property. You know you can't handle all of it alone." Alone. The word stung. It had been 3 years since my husband passed, leaving me to manage Grandpa's carpentry business single-handedly. But I wasn't helpless, and I certainly didn't need Aaron's pity or his demands. Still, the nagging guilt persisted. Aaron was family, after all, and he had a point. The land was vast, and maintaining it was a constant struggle. Perhaps I could compromise, allocate a small portion for him to build on, while preserving the rest for Grandpa's vision. With a heavy sigh, I made my decision. I would hear Aaron out, but on my terms. Grandpa's dream would not be compromised, no matter what. A few days later, Aaron's wife, Ally, showed up at my doorstep, clutching a thick folder adorned with an architectural firm's logo. She barged in without so much as a greeting, her expression stern and unyielding. "Here are the blueprints," she announced, slamming the folder onto the kitchen table. "As you can see, we have everything planned out in meticulous detail." I opened the folder, my eyes widening at the elaborate designs. An entire mansion? But I thought we agreed on a modest house. Ally scoffed, her perfectly sculpted eyebrows arching in disdain. "Don't be ridiculous, Beth. We deserve a home that matches our status and success. This is non-negotiable." My throat tightened as I flipped through the pages, each one more extravagant than the last. Grand foyers, multiple wings, even a private theater. It was excessive, to say the least. "But what about Grandpa's dream project?" I protested weakly. "We can't just pave over the entire property for your palace." Ally's piercing gaze bore into me, her lips curling into a condescending smirk. "Oh, please, that silly little community center? It's time to let go of the past and embrace the future, Beth. Our future." Her words stung like a slap across the face. How dare she dismiss Grandpa's lifelong dream so callously? The very dream that had sustained his spirit through countless hardships. The dream he had entrusted to me on his deathbed. I opened my mouth to argue, but Ally held up a perfectly manicured hand, effectively silencing me. "Save your breath. This is happening, whether you like it or not. We'll be expecting the funds for construction within the month." With that, she turned on her heel and strode out, leaving me to stare helplessly at the blueprints that threatened to consume everything Grandpa had worked so hard for. My hands trembled with a mixture of rage and despair. How could they be so heartless, so utterly devoid of respect for the man who had taken me in and raised me as his own? Didn't our shared history mean anything to them? I slumped into a chair, the weight of their demands crushing me. It seemed that no matter how hard I fought, they would always find a way to strip me of my dignity, to trample over the legacy that meant everything to me. But as the initial shock subsided, a familiar fire began to burn within me, the same fire that had fueled Grandpa's determination in the face of adversity. I would not let them win, not without a fight. It was time to take a stand, to protect the dream that had shaped my very existence. With renewed resolve, I gathered the blueprints and began formulating a plan. If Aaron and Ally wanted a battle, they would get one, and this time I intended to emerge victorious, no matter the cost. The next morning I found myself at the hospital, visiting my ailing father John. As I approached his room, I overheard Ally's shrill voice echoing in the hallway. "It's just so awful, isn't it? But until he's gone, we can't get what's truly ours." My heart sank as the meaning of her words registered. She was talking about Dad's inheritance. My inheritance, the one tied to Grandpa's land and his dream project. I peered around the corner, and there she was, phone pressed to her ear, oblivious to my presence. Her face was twisted into an expression of pure disgust, as if the very thought of my father's existence repulsed her. I know," she continued, her voice dripping with impatience. "But the sooner he kicks the bucket, the sooner we can finally live the life we deserve. No more scraping by, no more sacrifices." My hands balled into fists at my sides, nails digging into my palms. How could she be so callous, so utterly devoid of human decency? This was her own father-in-law she was talking about, a man who had welcomed her into our family with open arms. Bile rose in my throat as the full weight of her words hit me. She wasn't just after Grandpa's land, she was after everything. Every last penny of our inheritance, and she was willing to wish death upon my father to get it. In that moment, something shifted within me. The anger, the resentment, the overwhelming sense of injustice, it all crystallized into a single, unwavering purpose. I would not stand idly by while these vultures picked our family legacy apart, piece by piece. Ally finally noticed me standing there, her eyes widening in surprise. "Beth, I didn't see you there." "Save it," I spat, my voice trembling with barely contained fury. "I heard everything." Her face paled, but she quickly regained her composure, her lips curling into a sickly sweet smile. "Oh, you know how it is with family matters. Things get said in the heat of the moment, but we don't really mean them." Don't insult my intelligence, I growled, taking a step towards her. I know exactly what you and Aaron are up to, and I won't let you get away with it. For a brief moment, her mask slipped, revealing the true ugliness beneath. Her eyes narrowed, her mouth twisting into a sneer. You can't stop us, Beth, she hissed. We're going to take what's rightfully ours, whether you like it or not, and there's nothing you can do about it. With that, she brushed past me, her shoulder colliding with mine in a deliberate show of dominance. But I barely registered the physical contact, my mind already whirring with determination. This was war, plain and simple, and as I stepped into my father's room, my resolve hardened. I would protect our family, our legacy at all costs, no matter what it took. A few days later, Aaron and allies showed up at my doorstep once again, this time with a smug look on their faces that immediately set me on edge. We've done the math, Aaron announced without preamble, and to cover the construction costs, we'll need you to fork over $150,000. I stared at him in disbelief, certain I had misheard. $150,000? For a single house? Allie rolled her eyes, as if I were a petulant child questioning the obvious. Don't be dense, Beth. This is a mansion we're talking about, not some run-of-the-mill hovel. The materials alone are going to cost an arm and a leg. My mind raced, trying to make sense of the outrageous figure. Even if I liquidated every asset and drained my savings, I'd barely scratch the surface of that amount. That's an unreasonable demand, I protested weakly, already sensing the futility of my words. Aaron's expression hardened, his eyes glinting with barely concealed contempt. Don't give us that crap, sis. We both know you've got Grandpa's inheritance money stashed away somewhere. You owe us at least that much for agreeing to this whole thing. Ally nodded vigorously, her perfectly coiffed hair bouncing with each emphatic bob of her head. Exactly. It's time to stop being so damn selfish and start sharing the wealth, Beth. We're family, after all. The word family felt like a slap in the face, twisted and perverted beyond recognition by their insatiable greed. How could they claim to care about familial bonds when they were so willing to trample over everything our grandfather had held dear? I need some time to think this over, I stammered, my mind reeling from their audacity. Aaron shrugged, already turning to leave. Fine, take your time, but we expect that money in full by the end of the month, no excuses. As they walked away, I couldn't help but feel like I was being backed into a corner, forced to choose between preserving my grandfather's legacy and appeasing the insatiable appetites of these two vultures. But deep down, I knew there had to be more to their story. Some hidden agenda or ulterior motive driving their outrageous demands. They were playing a game, and I was determined to figure out the rules before it was too late. With trembling fingers, I transferred a lump sum of $20,000 into their account. A token gesture to buy myself some time. Then I made a call to an old friend of my grandfather's, a private investigator who owed him a favor. I need you to dig into Aaron and Ally's finances, I said, my voice steady and resolved. There's something they're not telling me, and I intend to find out what it is. This was just the beginning, I knew, but for the first time, I felt a glimmer of hope that I might be able to turn the tables and reclaim what was rightfully mine, and honor my grandfather's memory in the process. A week later, the private investigator I'd hired called me with some startling news about Aaron and Ally's finances. Well, it's not looking good for them, he said without preamble. Their business is deep in the red, and they've been defaulting on loan payments left and right. My heart sank as the pieces began to fall into place. So that's why they were demanding so much money from me. Exactly, he confirmed. And get this, they recently booked an extravagant vacation to the Bahamas, blowing through what little savings they had left. White-hot fury coursed through my veins as the full extent of their betrayal became clear. They had no intention of using my inheritance to build their dream home. They were simply trying to dig themselves out of a financial hole of their own making, all while living it up on a lavish tropical getaway. Those lying, manipulative snakes, I seethed, my hands balling into fists. They were playing me this whole time, trying to bleed me dry for their own selfish gains. The investigator let out a low whistle. You got that right. And from the looks of it, they were planning to skip town after draining your accounts, leaving you high and dry. A sudden thought occurred to me, and I felt a rush of determination unlike anything I'd ever experienced before. Not if I have anything to say about it. Without another word, I hung up the phone and immediately called my old friend Ron, a seasoned lawyer who had worked closely with my grandfather over the years. "Ron, I need your help," I said, laying out the entire sordid tale of Aaron and Ally's deceit. "They've been trying to swindle me out of my inheritance, and I want to make sure they pay for what they've done." There was a brief pause on the other end of the line before Ron spoke, his voice laced with grim resolve. "Say no more, Beth. We're going to make sure those two get what's coming to them, and protect your grandfather's legacy in the process." Over the next few days, we worked tirelessly, poring over legal documents and crafting an ironclad plan. By the time Aaron and Ally returned from their ill-gotten vacation, everything was in place. Their smug grins quickly faded when they saw the construction crews hard at work on the property, but not on the palatial mansion they had envisioned. "What the hell is this?" Aaron demanded, his face flushing with rage as he stormed over to where I stood, arms crossed defiantly. "This is your dream home, brother dear," I replied, unable to keep the satisfaction from creeping into my voice. "A brand new community center, just like Grandpa always wanted." As realization dawned on their faces, I felt a sense of vindication wash over me. The tables had finally turned, and this time I was the one holding all the cards. Aaron's face turned a deep shade of crimson as he lunged towards me, his hands balled into tight fists. "What the hell is this? This isn't what we agreed upon." I stood my ground, unflinching in the face of his rage. "On the contrary, brother dear, this is exactly what we agreed upon, or rather, what I agreed to." Ron stepped forward, brandishing a thick stack of documents. "The final signed contract is for the construction of a community center on this property. Beth owns the land outright, and she has every legal right to proceed with her grandfather's vision." Ally's shrill voice cut through the tension like a knife. "You can't do this. We had a deal." "A deal?" I scoffed, shaking my head in disbelief. "You mean the deal where you tried to swindle me out of my inheritance to fund your lavish lifestyle? The one where you wished for our own father's death just so you could get your grubby hands on his money?" Their faces drained of color as the truth hung in the air, laid bare for all to see. In that moment, they looked small, pathetic, the facade of their supposed success crumbling around them. "How did you?" Ally stammered, her voice trembling with fear. "I have my ways," I replied coolly, "and thanks to your little confession at the hospital, I have all the evidence I need to make sure you never see a single penny of our family's money." Aaron's eyes narrowed, his lips curling into a snarl. "You can't prove anything. It's your word against ours." With a flick of my wrist, I produced my phone and hit play, Ally's damning words filling the air like a noxious cloud. "It's awful, isn't it? But until he's gone, we can't get what's truly ours." Silence hung thick in the air as the recording ended, the weight of their betrayal crushing down upon them. Aaron's shoulders slumped in defeat, while Ally buried her face in her hands, her perfectly manicured nails doing little to hide her shame. "You're ruined," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "Both of you. Your greed has cost you everything." As if on cue, a sleek black sedan pulled up, and two imposing figures emerged. Aaron's boss and a representative from the loan company they were in debt to. "Aaron Carter," the boss bellowed, his face twisted in disgust. "I've just been made aware of your extracurricular activities. Consider yourself fired, effective immediately." The loan representative stepped forward, brandishing a stack of papers. "And as for you, Mrs. Carter, we'll be initiating foreclosure proceedings on your home and assets to recoup the outstanding debts. You're both officially bankrupt." As they were led away, defeated and humiliated, I couldn't help but feel a sense of bittersweet triumph. They had brought this upon themselves, allowing their greed and selfishness to consume them until there was nothing left. And as for me, I had preserved my grandfather's legacy, ensuring that his dream would live on long after those who sought to destroy it were nothing but a distant memory. In the aftermath of Aaron and Ally's public humiliation, I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. The storm had passed, and I had emerged victorious, but at what cost? As I sat alone in the silence of my grandfather's woodshop, Running my fingers over the smooth, worn surface of his workbench, I couldn't help but wonder if he would have approved of the lengths I'd gone to protect his dream. A soft knock at the door pulled me from my reverie, and I turned to see Ron standing in the doorway, a somber expression on his face. "Beth," he said, stepping inside, "I know this hasn't been easy for you, but I think you did the right thing." I let out a weary sigh, my shoulders slumping under the weight of my conflicted emotions. Did I, though? I mean, I practically destroyed my own brother's life. What kind of person does that make me? Ron's brow furrowed as he considered my words. A person who was willing to do whatever it took to preserve her family's legacy, he said finally. Aaron and Ally brought this upon themselves with their greed and deceit. You simply leveled the playing field. His words rang true, but still, a part of me couldn't shake the nagging sense of guilt. These were people I had once loved and trusted, after all, family. As if sensing my inner turmoil, Ron reached into his briefcase and produced a small recording device. "I think you should hear this," he said, pressing play. Ally's voice filled the room, her tone dripping with disdain as she spat the words I had overheard at the hospital. "It's awful, isn't it? But until he's gone, we can't get what's truly ours." I flinched, the memory of those words still fresh and raw, like a jagged shard of glass piercing my heart. But then Ron rewound the tape and played it again, this time with the full context. "And that's why we need to sort out this mess with Beth before Dad passes away. It's awful, isn't it? But until he's gone, we can't get what's truly ours, a chance to make things right and honor Grandpa's legacy." My breath caught in my throat as the true meaning of her words sank in. They hadn't been wishing for our father's death at all. They had been lamenting the fact that they wouldn't be able to make amends until after he was gone. Tears stung my eyes as the weight of my mistake came crashing down upon me. I had let my anger and suspicion blind me to the truth, lashing out in a misguided quest for vengeance. "Oh, Ron," I whispered, my voice thick with remorse. "What have I done?" But even as the guilt threatened to consume me, a glimmer of hope shone through. Aaron and Ally's lives might have been shattered, but they were still alive, and there was still a chance, however slim, to make things right. With renewed determination, I turned to Ron, my jaw set in a firm line. "We need to find them," I said, my voice steady and resolute, "and we need to make this right, no matter what it takes." The road ahead would be long and arduous, but for the first time in what felt like an eternity, I had a sense of purpose, not just to preserve my grandfather's legacy, but to heal the deep wounds I had inflicted upon my own family. It was time to find redemption, one painful step at a time. It took months of searching, but eventually, Ron and I managed to track down Aaron and Ally. They had hit rock bottom, living out of a dilapidated motel, scraping by on menial jobs just to put food on the table. When I first laid eyes on them, huddled together in that dingy room, it was as if the weight of the world had come crashing down upon their shoulders. Aaron, once so full of swagger and bravado, now looked small and defeated, his eyes hollow and haunted. And Ally, who had always carried herself with such poise and confidence, was a mere shadow of her former self, her once immaculate appearance now disheveled and unkempt. For a moment I wavered, the old anger and resentment threatening to resurface, but then I remembered my purpose, redemption, healing, and the chance to make things right. "Aaron, Ally," I said, my voice steady despite the tumult of emotions raging within me. "We need to talk." They regarded me warily like cornered animals, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of guilt at the fear and distrust etched onto their faces. "What do you want from us?" Aaron spat, his voice tinged with bitterness. "Haven't you taken enough?" I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what I knew would be a difficult conversation. "I want to apologize," I said, the words feeling foreign on my tongue. "I made a terrible mistake, and in my quest for vengeance I let my anger blind me to the truth." Ally's brow furrowed, confusion and skepticism warring across her features. "What are you talking about?" Slowly, I recounted the events that had led me down this path, the misinterpreted conversation, the assumption of their ill intent, and the devastating consequences that followed. As I spoke, their expressions shifted from guarded to stunned, the realization of my mistake dawning on them like a cruel twist of fate. "Beth," Aaron breathed, his voice barely above a whisper, We never meant for any of this to happen. Tears stung my eyes as I nodded, the weight of my guilt threatening to crush me. I know, I said, my voice thick with emotion, and I am so sorry. In that moment, something shifted between us. A wall built upon years of resentment and mistrust began to crumble. Ally reached out, her hand trembling, and took mine in a gesture of tentative forgiveness. We were all blinded by our own desires, she said, her voice tinged with regret, but that doesn't excuse what we put you through. And just like that, the floodgates opened, and we poured out our hearts to one another, laying bare the pain and misunderstandings that had festered for far too long. It was a cathartic release, a cleansing of the soul that left us all drained but oddly at peace. As the sun began to set outside the grimy motel window, casting long shadows across the room, I knew that our journey was far from over. There would be more challenges to face, more wounds to heal, and more bridges to mend. But in that moment, surrounded by the love and forgiveness of my family, I felt a sense of contentment that I hadn't experienced in years. Grandpa's dream had been realized, his legacy preserved, and now with Aaron and Ally by my side, the future looked brighter than ever. We're going to get through this, I said, my voice ringing with conviction. Together. And as we embraced, a newfound bond forged in the fires of our shared tribulations, I knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, we would face them as a united front, a family, whole and unbroken, standing tall in the face of adversity. For in that moment, I had found something far more precious than any inheritance or material possession, the true meaning of redemption and the unshakable power of love to heal even the deepest of wounds.
My name is Liza. I never thought that I would get to share my story, but here I am with a crazy mother-in-law story. I have used fake names because I have a daughter and don't want to be recognized. To be honest, my story doesn't even start with a crazy mother-in-law. I was married to my high school sweetheart, Daniel, for 3 years. We married early and settled in well before my mid-20s. Daniel was working at his father's business, so we were already pretty well settled. His mother, Jenny, absolutely adored me, and with his brother, Devin, we were one big, happy family. Unfortunately, Daniel's dad passed away when we were in school, so he couldn't be a part of our family. Overall, I had some amazing years with Daniel and his family. However, tragedy hit soon, and I was left with a big hole in my heart. One morning, I got a devastating call from Jenny when I was at work. She wasn't herself and said, "Liza, I have some terrible news. Daniel got into a car crash. He didn't even make it to the hospital. I'm so sorry, Liza. I don't know what to do." No, this can't happen. My whole world came crashing down. The man who I thought would be my life partner passed away too soon. I was a wreck. It was a really dark time for me and Daniel's family. What was worse was the fact that I was 5 months pregnant with our child, Lily. Honestly speaking, I still have trouble thinking about those days. Daniel may have gone, but I know he will always be a big part of my life. I gave him a part of my heart, and he took it with him when he died. Suddenly, my world changed like hell. Jenny couldn't cope well with the grief. She fixated herself on me and my pregnancy. Jenny had this weird notion that Lily was a reincarnation of Daniel. She would constantly call my unborn child her baby and try to make decisions about my body. Dealing with Jenny was hell. She always said, "You better not think about moving on, Liza. I'll never let you leave with my child. Lily is always going to be with me and Devin. I have already set up a nursery in my house. She will come live with me when she is born. Devin will be her dad. He is Daniel's brother after all." Jenny, I know you're having a hard time dealing with Daniel's death. Trust me, I'm just as bad, but you can't control me like this. This is my child, not yours. How dare you say this to me? Lily is my child. I will do everything in my power to keep her with me. Don't you dare think you can take her away." As the days passed, Jenny became extremely unhinged. We tried having multiple family discussions about her behavior. We said, "You need to stop being so obsessed with Lily. This is very unhealthy, Jenny. Mom, we are worried about you. You're acting very strangely. I think you should consider therapy. The only one you should worry about is Liza. I know this girl. She'll run away with a new man once the child is born. She'll take away Lily and raise her with someone else. Devin, you can't let her do this. She is your daughter, too." "Mom, you're not making any sense. Daniel is the father of Lily. A new man will not replace him. I'm her uncle, and that's it. I will be there for her, and so will you. But ultimately, she is Liza's daughter." Jenny never listened to us. From hosting a baby shower for herself to demanding presents in the delivery room, Jenny did a lot of things. Just thinking about everything makes me have a panic attack. Devin did his best to control his mother. However, she never improved. The first serious trouble she made was just after I gave birth. She came to my room and asked to hold the baby. When I handed her my daughter, she ran for the door. Luckily, Devin was outside and stopped her with some nurses. From that moment, I knew Jenny couldn't be around my daughter, so I filed a case against her and let the cops deal with her. I was at first hesitant to get a restraining order. I wanted Lily to know her grandma, so I put some boundaries and hoped for the best. Jenny crossed all of them. She tried to take my daughter away several times. She also tried to convince and demand Devin and his girlfriend to adopt Lily. They refused because they are actually sane people. Jenny also didn't like the fact that I was seeing someone when Lily was 2. The last straw came when she tried to take her away from daycare without my permission. We found that she had planned to move to a different state. I immediately confronted her in front of Devin. "What is wrong with you, Jenny? How many times do I have to tell you that you can't see my child without my permission? Even the courts are with me on this, yet you still keep trying to take her away. Lily is my child, and she deserves to be with me. I'll keep her with me until Devin and his girlfriend get married. Then we will be a happy family. You can go have a new child with your boyfriend." "Mom, you can't say or do things like this. We have already told you that Lily belongs to Liza alone. If she marries again, Lily will have a father figure. You don't have to worry about her." No. This is Daniel's daughter. I won't let anyone else raise her. She is mine and mine only. Liza is nothing but a womb. I will take my Lily away from this witch." By that point, I was completely done with Jenny. She never showed any improvement and instead got worse with time. Now I was actually getting worried for Lily's safety, so I decided to file a restraining order against Jenny. I knew that the restraining order would make her go mad, so before she could do any more damage, I shifted to a different country. I took a transfer and left without telling anyone the address. Only Devin knew my address because he was dependable. Jenny's behavior did have a lasting impression on me. I was always paranoid that she would take my child. The first year I moved was hell. Ultimately, I got therapy and decided to get better for my daughter. I was also developing a good connection with Carlos, who was a local resident. He was the reason I moved to the county. Carlos loved my daughter a lot, and they quickly formed a great bond, so I was sure that the relationship would work out. Jenny did find out about Carlos and tried to call. "You cheating witch! I'm sure you have been cheating on me. I will never let you live in peace. I'll bring Lily back to me. Just wait. Jenny, I have a restraining order against you. I don't want to do this. but you have left me no choice. If you really love Lily, you should get therapy and get better for her. Don't tell me what to do, Liza. I don't need therapy. I only want my baby Lily back. One day, I will take her away from you. Then all you will do is cry. That one phone call was enough to send me into a spiral again. Carlos and my therapist had a tough time soothing my fears. My paranoia skyrocketed again. My world got dark. Somehow, I managed to deal with the situation and kept all these conversations as evidence. Thankfully, with her horrible behavior, I was able to get the restraining orders renewed every time they expired. My solace was in the fact that Jenny never knew my new address. For the next few years, things went pretty well for me. I was slowly starting to cope with my mental health problems and tackled Jenny at the same time. I can't begin to tell you just how many phone numbers I had changed. When Lily was 6, I married Carlos and began my life with him. Devin and his girlfriend-turned-fiancé were invited, but Jenny was strictly not allowed. When Devin went home from my wedding, he did call me about Jenny. He said, "Liza, Mom found out about your wedding. I think one of your friends posted a picture and she saw it. She's not happy about this." What do I do, Devin? I'm tired of running away from Jenny. Even after years of filing a restraining order, she keeps harassing me. I'm exhausted. Stern, Liza. I'm doing my best to handle her. I think your marriage and my engagement have given her fresh ideas. I'm afraid she will do something stupid. Don't worry, Devin. I'll be on the watch. I'm not that naive girl anymore. Jenny can plan as much as she wants. I won't let her take Lily. I was adamant to protect my child. I quickly ordered high-security cameras and installed them all around the house. I also briefed Lily's school and babysitter about Jenny so that she can't cook up weird stories. Carlos was with me through it all. Years of therapy helped me deal with the situation better. While the old me would panic and become paranoid, the new me stayed calm and made plans. I was seriously praying to God that Jenny doesn't pull any stunts. I don't know about her, but this time I won't let her get away with her antics. Jenny's last crazy episode happened very soon. That morning, I was at my office pulling an overtime shift. Suddenly, I was surprised by a call from Devin. To be honest, I had no idea why he would call me at work. For some reason, my stomach was in knots as I picked up the phone. Devin sounded panicked and said, "Liza, you have to listen to me. This is serious. Mom just left me a message that she's bringing back Lily. I know you will never allow that. I'm afraid she will do something stupid." What the hell, Devin? I never gave her permission to take Lily. Hell, we have a restraining order against her. I think Mom is planning to kidnap Lily and bring her to my house. I've tried to change her mind, but I'm afraid she will run away with her if I push her too much. You need to stop her before she takes Lily. Thank you for telling me, Devin. I have no idea why Jenny still hasn't got the hint. Her behavior keeps escalating. She is adamant that Lily should stay with me. Mom is still obsessed with having me replace Daniel as her dad, but she's being very unreasonable. I know she needs help, but she refuses to go to therapy. I'm sorry to say this, Devin, but this time I don't think I can forgive her. If she really tries to kidnap my daughter, I will be sending her to jail. Devin said that he understood my stance and why I would do this. He promised to be in touch in case something goes wrong. Meanwhile, I started to plan a trap for Jenny. I knew that even if I left work right now, I wouldn't be able to reach home on time. So I picked up my phone and made a call. Then I simply sat back and waited for Jenny to show up. I had a very small hope in my heart that Jenny wouldn't be this crazy. Well, it turns out she is truly crazy. My house has security cameras covering the entire place, so I was able to watch everything while driving back home with a friend. As I watched Lily play on the lawn, I spotted Jenny making an entrance. Guys, Jenny actually tried to take my daughter. I was absolutely enraged by her behavior. Even after what happened, she wanted to ignore the court and take my child. She did it in the afternoon, knowing that I wouldn't be home. However, she didn't know one thing about my life. Carlos and I had gotten married 6 months ago, and just inside the house, Lily's new stepfather was watching everything. As soon as Jenny snatched up Lily, she cried out for Carlos. Immediately, he came and blocked the front door. Through the security camera, I could see that Jenny went completely white as a ghost. Then her jaw dropped. My daughter fought off her arms and ran straight to Carlos. There was one thing she didn't know about the new man in my life. Carlos was a police officer. To be precise, he was the sheriff of our county. Jenny just took one look at him and her jaw dropped, specifically because he was still in his police uniform. He was just back from work and spending time with my daughter before I came home. The call I made from the office was to Carlos. He is the one who picked up my daughter from school and stayed home till I came back. Jenny stupidly thought that I would leave my daughter unsupervised. Instead, she found a living and breathing cop stationed at my house. I heard them say, "What are you doing here, Jenny? I know you are Liza's mother-in-law. I'm interested to know what brings you here." "I'm here for my grandbaby. It's time she spends time with me." "Who the hell are you and where is my grandbaby?" "Well, first of all, you are not supposed to be in this house, and I also know that you don't have any visitation rights with Liza's daughter. I would suggest you tell me your intentions, since there are cameras in the house." "Who the hell are you? Why are you in this house around my granddaughter? You're not supposed to be here. I won't allow an unknown man to be near my granddaughter." "I am not an unknown man. I'm her stepfather, and I have full rights to be here. You are not supposed to be here. Since you have trespassed into my house, tried to kidnap Lily, and violated restraining orders, I have already called my mates to come and arrest you." No, you cannot arrest me. I'm not doing something wrong. My granddaughter belongs to me and Devin. I won't let Liza let a stranger raise Daniel's daughter. Only Devin is fit to be her dad. Listen to me, Jenny. You need to step away from this house right now. The cops will come and arrest you if I don't do it myself. Jenny kept arguing with Carlos while I hurried home to them. My friend from work drove me to my house while I was watching the confrontation. Carlos kept warning Jenny that she would face some serious charges if she didn't leave. Well, Jenny decided to be a martyr and continued to try and argue with him. As soon as I reached the house, Jenny started to shout at me. She said, "You witch! You intentionally married a cop so that you can take away my granddaughter. This is all your planning. I always knew you were a total witch." "Calm down, Jenny. You keep forgetting the fact that my cop husband is right in this house. Believe it or not, he will arrest you if you keep harassing us. I won't go down so easily. I'll tell everyone that you were cheating with Carlos before Daniel died. I will ruin your reputation and take Lily. Carlos, you can add harassment and slander to Jenny's list of offenses now. Looks like she won't stop." Just at that moment, the rest of the cops arrived. They came inside the house and spoke to Carlos about the situation. When Carlos and I gave our statements, Jenny threw another fit. She started to scream and cry about how unfair and selfish we were being. She said, "You are a vile woman, Liza. You want to keep me away from Lily. You have no respect for Daniel's memories. Why can't you just give Devin my granddaughter? He's the only one who should be her dad now. You have some serious audacity coming to my house and trying to take my daughter away. What makes you think I will ever allow you near her again? She is my granddaughter. I have the right to decide who raises her. The courts are wrong. I deserve to be with Lily. She deserves to be in my family. I won't let her stay with you. Jenny took that opportunity to attack me again. Yes, this crazy lady tried to assault me in front of my cop husband and friends. She was immediately restrained, and Carlos looked extremely pissed off. He spoke with his colleagues, and in a few seconds, Jenny was taken away in cuffs. She did try to fight those officers, and that made another offense on her already big criminal record. She was taken away, but not before she could throw some insanely inappropriate comments towards me and my husband. After everything happened, I took some time off work to be with my daughter. She was still traumatized by everything, especially by the way Jenny tried to grab her and run. Even I am exhausted from dealing with Jenny and had a hard time balancing everything. Carlos has been a huge support to both me and Lily. Lily has even started to call him Dad. She does know about Daniel, but she also sees Carlos as a father. I'm so happy that my little girl is finally starting to have a normal life. Devin and I talked in detail about what went down. He did apologize for his mother's behavior multiple times. I assured him that none of this is his fault, and he shouldn't take Jenny's blame. He was a great uncle to Lily and tried to replace Daniel. Devin continues to visit us every week to spend time with Lily and my family. He has since uninvited Jenny from his wedding and is planning to go no contact with her. Speaking of Jenny, she will be spending time in jail. By now, she has managed to work towards an impressive list of charges that keeps getting worse. From what Carlos has told me, she will likely face fines along with a short prison sentence. She's tried her best to turn the judge against us, but even the lawyer knows she's a lost cause. We're still waiting for the final hearing, so I can't share all details of the court proceedings. However, it looks like Carlos, Lily, and I will finally have some peace away from my crazy ex-mother-in-law.
You know something is seriously wrong with your mother-in-law when none of her children have nice things to say about her. Not only that, but also her daughter-in-law describes her as a living nightmare. That is my mother-in-law for you. It wasn't just her, it was her and almost her entire friend circle. I, Stella, had the glorious opportunity to end their toxic behavior. Let me tell you how. My husband, Dmitry, and I became a couple in college. We were in the same class and bonded over the fact that we both knew Russian. While he was an actual Russian, I had simply learned it as a hobby. I am multilingual in many languages. Dmitry was extremely impressed by my skills, and we developed a good relationship pretty soon. By the end of 2 months, I knew I wanted to be with this man. Trust me, my husband is one of a kind. Soon, we began to date. When we crossed a few years and graduated, Dmitry decided to give me a little warning about his mother, Pauline. Our relationship was progressing excellently, and plans of marriage were in the air. So, he decided to give me a heads up. He said, "Stella, since we have been discussing marriage, I think you need to know my family a bit. Why don't we meet up with them? It would be fun. I'm excited to finally meet them." Our dinner in Dominic and Natasha from our graduation. I don't know why your mom never came. She is like that, Stella. This is why I think I should warn you. My mom is not the best out there. It's not like she was abusive or something. It's just that she doesn't care about us. She's pretty self-obsessed and always has been. I'm afraid she will offend you. Really? How bad can it be? Maybe you are overthinking this. I'll be fine. No, Stella, you don't understand. She's not a very good person. She has been nasty towards Natasha as well. I guess she feels threatened when a woman joins her family. She's used to being the matriarch. Me and Dominic are still in contact because she depends on us, and we can't abandon our mom. Back then, I sort of didn't believe Pauline could be so bad. Dimitri did tell me a lot of stuff about his mom. However, I believed that people can't be so vile. Even Natasha and Dominic had told me about Pauline's obnoxious behavior. Things became clear to me when I finally met Pauline. At the first meeting itself, I could tell that Pauline was a vain woman. She said, "So, Stella, tell me a little bit about yourself. I have no idea why my son fancied someone who isn't Russian. My sons are disappointments to me anyway, but I was counting on Dmitri to find me a good daughter-in-law. The first one is a joke about a woman. Excuse me, why would you say that about your sons and Natasha? Because it is true. She's an infertile person. I can't believe my son hasn't divorced her yet. But then again, my sons tend to annoy me. Since you are here, I assume marriage has been talked about. We are planning to get engaged, Mom. It won't be long. So I have to put up with this stupid girl for the rest of my life. Good to know. Is this meeting done yet? I have a spa date with my friends." This woman was shocking. She met me for the first time and didn't show any respect towards me and her own family. It was ridiculous. What's even more shocking is the fact that her sons are providing for her while she goes away and spends her money. Despite this, she kept calling them disappointments. I immediately knew that having a relationship with Pauline would be a disaster. When Dmitri finally proposed to me, I did voice my concerns. I said, "Dmitri, I don't have a good feeling about Pauline. She is a vile woman. I'm sorry to say this, but your mom is the worst. How can you still have a relationship with her?" "I can't help it, Stella. She's my mom and my only parent. If I don't take care of her, she would have no one. I was hoping she would eventually change her ways." "I'm not very sure about that, Dmitri. Honestly, I don't even want to be around her. I'm worried she would be a bad presence in our lives." "Don't worry, Stella. If she tried anything with you, I won't tolerate it. I know my boundaries." I trusted his words. Dmitri did love me a lot, and I was sure he would protect me if necessary. However, after our wedding, Pauline's presence still became a huge problem. She constantly made Natasha and me work for her and fulfill her demands. Whenever Dominic and Dmitri were busy, she called us and demanded us to come and help her. She never stopped berating us whenever she saw us. It was becoming too much for us. However, Dominic and Dmitri had a hard time saying no to her. Plus, Natasha and I didn't have parents, so we went the extra mile to try and salvage a relationship. Everything changed when I discovered something even more horrible about her. You see, Pauline had a weekly lunch meeting with her friends. At first, we thought it was just old ladies spending quality time. That was until I heard their conversations one day. I had to go to her house to get some documents for Dmitri. When I knocked on her door, Pauline let me in. Her friends looked kind of uncomfortable, but didn't say anything. As I was leaving with the documents, I overheard their conversation in Russian. They said, "Why did you let Stella in, Pauline?" "Oh, don't mind her. She is a dumb girl and doesn't know Russian. She says she does, but I know she is lying. Stella is super pretentious. You should have seen how fat she looked in a bikini on her recent trip. I swear a whale would look better. It would be a shame to be seen with her." "You really?" These girls know nothing about being decent. My daughters-in-law are the same. She dresses like a cheap woman. You know, the last time she showed me clothes, I went and threw them out. She cried for days, and it made me so happy. God, they do deserve our little punishments. You know, I taught Natasha a good lesson last time. I added almonds to her food. She is allergic to them. I lied and said I didn't know. I don't know why she survived. She can't even have kids, so what's the point of her being alive? Good for you to teach her a lesson. My daughter-in-law has been getting out of control. I'm thinking about leaking some embarrassing pictures of her. She has been body conscious recently. I bet it would teach her a lesson to stop eating so much. I wanted to starve her the last time she was here. Good idea. I should try this out with Stella. That girl needs to be starved for a day or two. I doubt that will help, though. I can see why her parents decided to escape from her. I would have died too if I had such an ugly daughter. These girls think they are better than us. It's good we punish them when necessary. They have already charmed our sons. Someone needs to keep them under control and show them their place. Yes, these were the discussions that Pauline and her friends had every day. They kept on saying even more vile things and planning evil schemes on their daughters-in-law. Hell, Pauline even made fun of me by mentioning my dead parents. It made me sick to my stomach. With my quick thinking, I took out my phone and started to record. Then I quietly left the house without them knowing. I couldn't bear to be there anymore. Honestly, their discussion made me pretty sick and furious. I felt like crying my eyes out. These people were horrible. I had no idea a group of old ladies could be so vile and cruel. The things they continued to say disgusted me. I was furious at Pauline and the other women. They had no shame in plotting and scheming against their daughters-in-law. Hell, they took great joy in the suffering of their daughters-in-law. I was furious and wanted to reveal their true faces to everyone. So I made a plan. I knew that all the sons and daughters-in-law needed to know what goes on in these meetings held by the old ladies. Since all of the men and their wives were Russian, they would easily understand what was being said. I was the only one who wasn't Russian. Keeping this in mind, I decided to host a party. I didn't inform my husband about what had happened. Instead, I simply told him that we could organize a barbecue for everyone. However, I did meet up with Natasha and had a conversation with her. I said, "Hey, Natasha, there is something I wanted to tell you. Do you know those lunch meetings that Pauline goes to every week?" "Yes, what about them?" "Were you allowed to join in?" "Technically, I wasn't. I went home to get some documents, and they let me in. I guess they thought I wouldn't understand their discussion. Pauline doesn't know that I learned Russian years back. I recorded their conversation for you." I played the recording for her. Her eyes went wide, and she immediately looked pissed. By the time the recording was done, she was ready to slap someone. I had to guess who that could be. She said, "What the hell were they thinking?" I always thought she was having a friendly get-together. She lives on our money, but has no problem talking about us. Believe me, Natasha, I cannot comprehend the freaking audacity of these women. I only recorded parts of the conversation. They kept saying much worse things. We need to tell everyone right now. This is insane and wrong. There is no way I will keep in contact with Pauline after this. No need to tell anyone right now, Natasha. I'm planning a party very soon. I want you to invite all the sons and daughters-in-law. Make sure they show up no matter what. We will give these women a taste of their own medicine." Natasha and I made plans to arrange everything. She called up multiple people while I informed the ones I knew personally. We didn't tell them about the conversations with the mother-in-law. Instead, we just requested their presence. No one knew what was waiting for them. Pauline was also invited along with her friends. She said, My, Stella, it's been a week since you came back from vacation, and you are already planning a party. I see that you are hell-bent on landing my son in debt. Me and Dmitri are splitting the costs, Pauline. Even Natasha is contributing to it. Who needs enemies when you have daughters-in-law like mine? I guess I'll see both of my sons on the street in no time. Well, who knows? One of us might end up on the street very soon. For now, we expect to see you at the party. All your friends are invited. I will inform them after you confirm. Oh, at least I'll have someone to talk to. Okay then, I will be there. With Pauline's confirmation, Dimitri and I began inviting all her friends as well. I even invited the ones who don't attend lunch meetings. Everyone needed to know what Pauline and her group were like. My invitations were all answered, and everyone did show up for the party. I had everything arranged. I was simply waiting for the perfect chance. People were mulling about and enjoying themselves. Pauline and her group were in the corner gossiping about something. I had a good guess what they were talking about, especially because they were away from the rest of the people so that no one could hear them. Once everyone arrived, I seated them on my lawn and proceeded to the microphone. Yes, I did rent all the equipment. I'm extra that way. I took the microphone and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my barbecue party. I've taken great pains to organize this event, and I'm glad all of you made time for me. Now that everyone is here, I want to tell you the real reason why you were all called here. You guys might want to hear this very carefully. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. We all know that Pauline and her friends like to arrange some awesome lunch meetings on weekdays, but we never knew what they talked about in their meetings. Until now, that is. You see, I had a rare chance to hear what the meeting was all about, and let me tell you, all Pauline and her friends do is berate their daughters-in-law and plot against them. That's not true at all. We never make fun of our daughters-in-law. Why would you say such a thing? You don't even know Russian. How did you understand what we said? You have a habit of underestimating me, Pauline. I did tell you that I understand Russian very well. You always thought I was bluffing. Well, spoiler alert, I wasn't bluffing at all. That is impossible. You are talking about us and insulting us. You have no proof of your horrible claims. Well, I do have proof of your nasty activities, Pauline. People, I'm going to play a beautiful recording of Pauline and her group talking at their lunch meeting. You can hear it and decide for yourself. With that, I switched on my phone and played the recording on the microphone. The entire atmosphere changed in a few minutes. From having curious eyes, my guests quickly switched to being extremely mad and ready to blow up. The things that the mothers-in-law said in the recordings were awful. I lived over to Dimitri and Dominic, and both of them looked freaking mad. When the recording ended, everyone freaked out. All the sons and daughters-in-law verbally lashed out at their mothers. Even Dominic and Dimitri berated Pauline. They said, "What the hell is this, Mom? Are you freaking out of your mind? This is what you do with your friends at my house." Dimitri, listen to me, son. This is all a trap. I had no idea Stella speaks or understands Russian. This was all a setup. Please believe me. This is one of the most ridiculous things I've heard today. Everyone knows Stella speaks Russian. You are the one who refused to believe her and mocked her for it. Stella responded by making me out to be a monster. I'm not like this, son. I was just venting to my friends. Stella has no right airing our dirty laundry like this. How dare you try to justify your behavior? You told everyone about the issues we go through. You were the one who started this. What is wrong with you? You have some nerve making fun of us, Pauline. I don't know why I even put up with you. How the hell did you think it was okay to make fun of my infertility like that? You even body shamed Stella and talked about her. Dimitri continued, his anger palpable. Pauline was busy trying to explain her side to her sons. Meanwhile, every mother-in-law was getting cornered by their sons and being berated by their daughters-in-law. It was a fiasco, but all these vile women deserved it. Dominic and Dimitri would not listen to what Pauline was saying. They said, "I'm not going to forget or forgive what you have done. We have put up with your freaking behavior long enough. I'm going to stand up for my wife and protect her. We are done with you, Mom. Don't bother showing your face again. We are disowning you as well. Hell, if I ever see you again, I'll pretend you are no one to me. Say goodbye to the monthly allowance I send you. You don't deserve my money, Dominic added. Well, cut it, Mom. You should have thought about things before you went around bad-mouthing our wives. Like Dominic, I'm going to stop giving you money as well. Enough is enough, Dimitri concluded. Pauline started to freak out completely. She broke down, screaming and crying while her friends were also doing the same. In the end, all of them were promptly kicked out. The rest of us discussed everything and decided to have a good time among ourselves. It was a barbecue party, after all, so we made the most of the night despite the circumstances. All the men and their wives came up to me and thanked me for informing them. They were grateful that I didn't keep this information to myself. When the party finally got over, I decided to apologize to Dimitri and Dominic. I said, Dominic, I am sorry for revealing things so publicly. I wanted everyone to know at once, and confronting them individually would have messed things up. I didn't want to give them time to cook up something. No, Stella, you don't have to apologize. We already know why you guys didn't come up to us first. To be honest, Dominic and I were in denial when you and Natasha complained about Mom. We needed this wake-up call, Dimitri responded. Yes, this needed to be done publicly. Who knows what they would have cooked up in their next meeting, Dominic added. Don't worry, guys. From now on, things will change. We meant what we said. Dimitri and I won't support Mom anymore. She can figure things out on her own, Dominic assured us. We talked for the rest of the night. It got so late that I asked Dominic and Natasha to stay over. The next day, Pauline showed up at our house again. She was banging on the door and hurling insults at me. I guess she thought I was alone at home since I worked from home. Imagine her surprise when two very angry-looking sons of hers opened the door. Talk about adding fuel to the fire. Yes, Pauline turned on the waterworks again while Natasha and I laughed our butts off. Pauline tried to sway her sons. However, Dominic and Dimitri simply closed the door in her face. Days passed, and Pauline did everything to try and make up with her sons. She even tried to talk to Natasha and me, asking us to help her. We laughed in her face and told her to go to hell. As the month went by, Pauline soon realized that both her sons were serious about not giving her money. She cried to everyone about losing her house because her landlord was threatening to kick her out. When she called us, we simply ignored her. She can get a job for all I care. It's been over 6 months since the incident. So far, we have news that Pauline is living with her sister in a different state. Her sister didn't want to take her in, but felt like she had no choice. However, she did tell her to find jobs if she wanted to stay. News is that she is making excuses, so I'm not sure how long her sister will put up with her. Meanwhile, her other friends have also faced serious consequences for their behavior. Some have been removed from their sons' homes, while others have gone low or have no contact. The group has broken up since everyone kept blaming each other for the fiasco. At this point, I don't even care what happens to the rest. Dimitri and I are back to having a peaceful life without finding Pauline criticizing our every move.
Your husband is dead, and you'll be going back to your parents' home, right? We'll live in this house then. Just after the funeral of my dear husband, who suddenly left this world, his parents, my in-laws, visited me as I was engulfed in sorrow. Though not many, this house is filled with memories of living with my husband. Why must I be the one to leave? But before I could even wipe my tears, my mother-in-law coldly stated this. My name is Jenny. I work as an office clerk at a real estate agency. The meeting with my dear husband, Ted, was facilitated by the real estate agency where I work. He was the brother of my male colleague, and the two brothers were very close, often visiting each other since their workplaces were near. As I worked with him, I became friends with my colleague, who later became my brother-in-law. This connection led him to introduce me to his older brother. Gradually, as I was invited by the brothers to have lunch together, our time spent together increased. I recognized Ted as a bright and good man, but I had not considered him romantically. Nor did I think he saw me that way until one day, something changed. We were supposed to meet at a restaurant booked by my colleague, but suddenly he couldn't make it due to urgent business. It seemed a waste to cancel the reservation. So, for the first time, it was just the two of us. I later learned that the brothers had conspired, with the younger brother arranging for us to be alone. The conversation flowed easily, enhanced by the delicious food. And we quickly found ourselves growing closer, sharing our backgrounds and values. The more I discovered about his inner warmth, the more I was drawn to his warm smile. This day marked a turning point in our relationship. And it didn't take long for us to get married. It wouldn't have happened without my brother-in-law's help, for which I am profoundly grateful. Then came the day to meet the in-laws. I was filled with anxiety, but they welcomed me very kindly. The considerate exchanges continued, and I found myself relaxing. I'm really glad you could come. We've been looking forward to meeting you, Jenny. We hope today will be a good day, and we've prepared a lot of food. My mother-in-law said this, taking great care of me. My in-laws, like their eldest son, my husband, were very independent people and easy to get along with. I felt relieved and grateful for the enjoyable time I spent at my in-laws' home. We had many interactions, but my in-laws always supported our happiness, without imposing any ideas about marriage or children, maintaining a comfortable distance. Eventually, the idea of living together at my in-laws came up. But we had plans to build our own home. Actually, my grandfather left a house for me. As I explained, my in-laws listened intently and nodded. I was my grandfather's only grandchild, and he adored me, eventually leaving me a well-renovated house and land. He passed away after the inheritance procedures were completed. The land was nearby, and its value had skyrocketed due to redevelopment. However, I knew from my long experience in real estate that selling it, rather than living there, would be more beneficial for our ideal home plans. I was grateful for my grandfather's love, but since he had told me I could sell the house if I wanted, we had already considered selling it. After our marriage, we moved there. However, it was far from work, and living there, despite the good location, was impractical. As we planned the sale, a significant change came into our lives. My husband, a salesperson, was transferred. His company had branches nationwide, and he was the only suitable candidate. So refusing the transfer was not an option. I'll definitely come back on holidays. Plus, my parents will come to visit. It's no trouble, but could you take them out? That's fine, your parents are lovely people. But, it looks like selling the house will have to wait. So, my husband's solo assignment was decided because of my job. It was sudden, but I endured the loneliness and worry, waiting for the day we could live together again. As my husband said, on his days off, my in-laws, especially my mother-in-law, would often visit. She told me how she had endured loneliness many times while raising young children during my father-in-law's business trips. Even without children, you can nurture family memories. Why don't we go out together? Shopping can clear your mind. Let's go, Jenny. Thanks to my mother-in-law, I didn't feel lonely, and my holidays became busy. However, I gradually began to notice troubling signs. On my days off, my mother-in-law almost always invited me out. That was fine, but after a month, her invitations became more forceful. Regardless of my fatigue or housework. I'd like to rest this week. If I said that, my mother-in-law would frown as if I were being selfish. But isn't it fun to go out together? Or do you mean to say you don't like going out with me? No, that's not it, but you've been taking me out every week, don't you need a break too? My mother-in-law looked sad. Even as I tried to clear up the misunderstanding, she refused to listen. Reluctantly agreeing, she would then burst into a smile. And act as if she had never clung to me so persistently. My suspicions about my mother-in-law's behavior grew. The places she forced me to go were stores that led to high expenses. The shopping at brand stores and expensive meals continued. And I was manipulated into paying. My mother-in-law would often leave the store first, leaving me to handle the payments. She never thanked me for the payments, nor did she ever repay them. Indeed, I had a house and a decent salary, so I wasn't worried about savings. However, having always been frugal as a couple, I couldn't help feeling uncomfortable with my mother-in-law's extravagant behavior. It was the same when both in-laws were present. In fact, with my father-in-law joining, my burden only increased. I knew I needed to resolve this, but it was hard to discuss with my husband. He had said, "I will definitely come back on holidays." His branch office was very busy, and he rarely could return. I heard from Mom that you're going out every week. Are you managing okay? Doesn't seem like there's anything to worry about. When I video called my husband, I could see the bags under his eyes and his slightly thinner cheeks. His work fatigue was evident. I felt guilty about bringing up the issue with my mother-in-law, and ended up pretending everything was fine. Your mom has been really kind to me. Take care of yourself, Ted. I'm okay, so don't worry. While I misled my husband, I couldn't refuse to cover the expenses with my in-laws. However, their behavior escalated, and finally, when I said I couldn't go out one day, they said this. So, hey, could you lend me some money? What? I have to pay? Just a little bit, really just a bit. I've already booked the restaurant. I'll take another friend instead, so could you cover what I'm short? I wanted to refuse, but that would only complicate things, leaving no resolution. Resigned, I opened my wallet. But such attitudes were never shown in front of my husband. Why don't you ask Ted? I subtly probed my mother-in-law, to which she replied. It would be shameful to ask Ted. She thought it was embarrassing to ask her eldest son. So it was fine to ask his wife for money. I had given up on my mother-in-law long ago. And her demands for money had become a routine matter. At least, if I gave her some pocket money, she would stop forcibly taking me out. I knew the problem had escalated. But I was too exhausted from the inability to converse with my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law's actions became increasingly inexplicable and bizarre. At times she would arrive unannounced and survey the inside and outside of the house as if licking every corner, making me feel like my home's privacy was being violated. Are these furnishings left by Jenny's grandfather? They're wonderful. It's amazing that you can afford such luxurious items. Some of the furniture that remained was antique, favored by my grandfather. My mother-in-law seemed to like them, often coming over and admiring them as if they were her own. This is mine and my husband's house. I began to consider opening up about my mother-in-law's behavior. My husband might be surprised. But how wonderful it would be if we could think of a way to handle her together. Her actions are not pleasant. Invading privacy, even if we are in-laws, is wrong. However, at the same time, the duration of my husband's solo assignment was determined. If I could just bear it a little longer, he would return. And the in-laws mooching for money would end. A faint hope sprouted in my heart. My husband was working hard every day, so I just had to endure a little longer. I eagerly awaited my reunion with my husband, but the situation took an unexpected turn. What? Ted collapsed and is in the hospital? My mind went blank. The call came from a colleague at his place of assignment, and I hurried to the hospital. Perhaps due to his hectic schedule, he had suddenly suffered a heart attack. Ted was rushed by ambulance, but it was too late, and my gentle husband, whose health was his asset, passed away from a heart attack that no one could have anticipated. I couldn't accept the reality as I faced the funeral. I don't remember much due to the overwhelming sense of loss. My brother-in-law rushed over, handling most of the tasks. I'm sorry. You've lost your brother, yet you're helping me so much. It's my brother's funeral, of course I'd help. Besides, is everything okay with the land? Is the house ready? As we tidied up after the funeral, I talked with my brother-in-law and nodded, replying, all set. A few days after my husband's funeral, my in-laws came to the house together. It was clear they weren't here to console me. It's a pity about our son, but we're here, so don't worry. My mother-in-law's face oddly grinned. More shockingly, she had arranged a truck, and it was packed with furniture and belongings from the in-laws' house. I was too stunned and confused to speak. This looked unmistakably like a move. My in-laws were planning to move in without any discussion. What made them think this was acceptable? But the answer was clear. Are you after our land? Despite my confusion, I voiced the concern that had been in my heart. My mother-in-law smiled coldly. The land value has shot up quite a bit. We've had our eyes on this house for a long time. In fact, you got married to our son because of this inheritance. We allowed the marriage because you inherited it. I was overwhelmed with despair, at a loss for words. Are you saying you and I will live together? What? Don't say something stupid. As I asked confusedly, my mother-in-law's eyebrows rose. Ted's death was unexpected, but it seemed that even if he hadn't died, my mother-in-law intended to take over this house. My in-laws planned to oust me and take over the land themselves. They apparently assumed I would leave the house because my son had died. Your husband is dead, and you'll go back to your parents' house, right? This house will be empty, and it'd be sad, so we'll live here. That's why I'm telling you not to worry. My mother-in-law's grin twisted. I felt fear, but pointed out her mistake. The house has already been sold, though. I held back laughter at my mother-in-law's misunderstanding, unable to fully hide a smirk. In response, my mother-in-law froze. Just then, a different moving truck arrived. Sorry, we're here for the delivery to this house. A robust mover got out of the truck, and since another company's truck was there, he came to check with us. My mother-in-law's movers also descended, unable to start their work due to the arrival of another truck. Realizing something was amiss, they asked the in-laws for an explanation, but both were too flustered to respond clearly. Arguing with everyone there wouldn't solve anything. Seeing my panicking in-laws, I began to regain my composure and briskly directed the movers. This house has already been sold and the contract is finalized. A new family is moving in. So you can't bring their belongings into someone else's home, right? As the movers were shocked, a luxury car arrived, carrying a wealthy-looking couple and their children. The land was no longer mine, they were the new owners. My in-laws were even more confused, unable to grasp what was happening. Please move the truck quickly, the new residents need to start their work. After managing to get my mother-in-law's truck to leave, the movers began their work immediately, following the planned procedure to bring in brand new furniture. My in-laws, unable to accept this, started pressing me at the doorstep. The husband, the buyer, had his family take refuge in the car and came over to confront us, starting another round of confusion. Who are these people? We've bought this house. Please send the truck back quickly. I hadn't expected my in-laws to visit, so I apologized profusely to the buyers to soothe their annoyance. But my in-laws weren't leaving. Instead, they pushed past us into the house. Naturally, the inside of the house had changed completely. None of the furniture my husband and I had used remained. My mother-in-law was shocked by the sight and began to scream. What is this? The house is empty. All the antique furniture and lighting I liked are gone. What's going on? She couldn't understand what was happening and was outraged. When the residents finally shouted, "I'll call the police," my father-in-law, who had been flustered, ran and dragged my mother-in-law away to retreat. Once we moved away from the scene, my heated mother-in-law quieted down somewhat. First, I apologized to the residents, told that problems might still arise. I took down the in-laws' names and addresses to get some relief. Despite feeling a strong sense of fatigue, I still had explanations to give to my in-laws. I returned to them and calmly informed them that the move had been completed just days before my husband passed away. This house was always planned to be sold with the land, so it went according to the original plan. The solo assignment of my husband had put a temporary stop to it. But there was a reason things moved so smoothly afterward. My brother-in-law had backed our decision. I was bewildered by the change in my in-laws, who had even started asking for money. But I didn't want to worry my husband and couldn't discuss it with him, spending my days shut away. Noticing this, my brother-in-law came to my rescue. He had a bad relationship with his parents and had told me he'd help if I ever needed it. Not wanting to sour my marriage or my relationship with my in-laws, I trusted my brother-in-law, who promised to keep things confidential, and decided to confide everything. Upon hearing it, he was furious with our parents. As my husband's brother and my colleague, he understood their scheming well. For him, his brother Ted was his only family, and as Ted's wife, I was like family to him too. Our parents will eventually try to live in that house with you, or conveniently kick you both out to take it for themselves. According to my brother-in-law, both of my in-laws have a high-class mindset to the point of being out of touch with the real world. They are vain and unscrupulous, especially my mother-in-law, who can appear as a lovely lady to the outside world. But in reality, she is mean-spirited and only thinks of her own convenience. Because he is blood-related. The episodes my brother-in-law shared about our in-laws were particularly intense. In front of my husband, the eldest son, they pretended everything was fine. So my husband likely never knew this side of his parents. In any case, my brother-in-law suggested that we should sell the land early to prevent it from being taken by my in-laws. I agreed with his opinion and decided to proceed with the sale, even though the property was a precious inheritance from my beloved grandfather. I did not want its existence to become a hurdle for our marriage. Rather, because it was so important, I did not want to leave behind any troubles. Of course, I didn't decide this arbitrarily. I had discussed it with my husband while he was alive, and he agreed. At that time, he became aware of all my in-laws' actions. I hadn't wanted to tell him, but I couldn't complete the sale on my own. However, he fully understood my feelings and decisively condemned his parents' actions. I'm sorry I didn't notice. If Jenny is okay with it, let's complete the sale before my parents make a move. It's a shame, it's the precious house inherited from your grandfather. No, it's okay. Grandfather would agree to let it go if it meant avoiding trouble. I chose to sell the land not because of issues with my in-laws, but to protect my future with my husband. Regarding the sale, my brother-in-law, an expert in real estate, went out of his way to find the right buyer. My task was to find a new place to move to as soon as possible, and act naturally so my in-laws wouldn't suspect anything. The house was sold almost as new due to minimal wear from our living there, and this helped keep the price down. A buyer was found quickly, and the sale was completed smoothly. That was the family that had just arrived. I had originally planned to wait for Ted's return in our new home. He was pleased with the sale, and that was the only regret. The movers efficiently moved furniture in. Despite being kicked out, my in-laws just watched the moving process proceed. They didn't make a scene but couldn't just stand there forever. The movers they had hired were furious and demanded an explanation. As from their perspective, the booking of the move made no sense. I can't believe this is happening, this is a breach of contract. They pressured my in-laws, who fumbled their explanation. Eventually, the furniture had to be taken back, and it seemed they would be charged a substantial additional fee due to the unforeseen circumstances. Finally understanding what was happening, my mother-in-law, trembling, clung to me. This is the home of the eldest son's wife, so it should be our home, right? This situation is strange, isn't it? She tried to convince me with desperate excuses, but I ignored them and left only with my belongings. The land already belonged to the new family, and it wasn't mine anymore, so I had nothing to answer for. The funeral services for my husband, including the first 7 days of mourning, went smoothly. I encountered my in-laws there, and they seemed to want to say something about the house, but ultimately they left quietly without saying anything. I no longer had any obligation to communicate with them, so our interactions dwindled. I began to live peacefully, facing the sadness of losing my husband in the new, smaller home we were supposed to restart our lives in as a couple. I had a considerable amount of savings from the sale, but now that Ted was gone, the plan to build our own home was no longer feasible. As I returned to work, I immersed myself in the few memories I had with my husband and gradually started to look forward again. Meanwhile, my mother-in-law, particularly filled with unresolved grievances, seemed to be accumulating stress. I had not informed her of my new residence, wanting no further involvement with her. Unable to interact with me, her frustrations appeared to grow. She had always been pretentious in front of her eldest son, and now could not go to her estranged younger son. Not knowing my whereabouts, her stress compounded, and eventually, she lost her balance. One night, my mother-in-law resorted to a drastic act. She poured gasoline around the house that had been sold. Fortunately, a passing neighbor found her actions suspicious and restrained her before anything could happen. When the police were alerted, they found she had also prepared old papers and a lighter, and she was arrested for attempted arson. The homeowner, nearly having his property set on fire, was extremely angry when he realized that the woman who had caused a scene on moving day was responsible and insisted on pressing charges. I apologized repeatedly, expressing sorrow for the terrifying experience he faced. But I could do nothing about my mother-in-law's attempted arson. Ultimately, my mother-in-law's fixation on the house led to her being charged. I managed to get forgiveness by repeatedly apologizing, promising that such an incident would never happen again. Raised in luxury, my mother-in-law had always gotten whatever she wanted. When she couldn't have that house, her frustration turned into a warped jealousy, hating the house and the land, leading her to crime and eventually to prison. My father-in-law, who should have been a support, ended up divorcing her forcefully after her arrest, leaving her with no home to return to after her sentence. But that was the result of the path she chose. My brother-in-law, lonely after losing his brother, said, "I can bear it because I have a sister-in-law." Although the ties with my in-laws were thankfully severed, I hadn't lost all family. For the sake of my husband watching over me from heaven, I decided to spend my days peacefully.